law was an incident of headline sniping by Jane Foster when she shows up
Yeah.
and she confronts a reporter that wrote an article about Loki, like what is like how to be, why we should be excited or something like that.
Yeah.
And Jane Foster is guilty of headline sniping and not reading the article, and which a lot of people are guilty of doing. And this is a rant that I've been on for a month now, but where this is concerned, it's topical now, especially when we're talking about Loki and his run for president, and everyone took that headline, ran with it, and they're like, yes, we should be excited for Loki, but no one asked the question, why? And Jane Foster reads the article and finds out that it's not. It's a scathing, article that this reporter has written about Loki. And, I think she's like, okay, I stand fully corrected. And ultimately, helps ultimately directly, bring Loki down. And force the people to ask the questions.
It was just kind of, it was really the American people who really just kind of
asked the questions and then realized he didn't have a stance on anything.
Right.
But,
and that's kind of what that's what Hastings was trying to tell the American public, is you have to ask questions. You have to be involved.
You have to educate yourself.
Yeah, to get to where you want to get to on a political candidate.
In the comic, they do that, and Loki ends up still
Ousted.
being popular, but ultimately not voted in or whatever. And then the problem is that that's a statement on American politics as it is right now, because people refuse to educate themselves where politics are concerned. They refuse to look at the details of the picture, and they just want to glance and see pretty. It's like going through a museum in 10 minutes, speed walking through a museum instead of taking the time to actually look at the painting and see the individual brushstrokes. That's the best way for me to say that. And that's what people don't do.
How difficult that can be, though, to really just go into research of everything these people say. I mean,
there are a dozen websites that you can go to that tells you exactly what people.
What are some of the websites that you would recommend to people?
Because that's a tough question off the top of my head.
Oh, I didn't. I thought you would have them memorized, like HTTP
/ question mark, is it real hyphen. So you're going to hear some keystrokes here, but yeah, I mean that's what people absolutely have to do.
And another real challenge
is one of them.
Is finding non-biased and honest sources, because everybody has their own agenda.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's tough. I have to vet this real quick before I say this name. So PolitiFact is one of them that it's nonpartisan, and basically they look at what a candidate has said in speeches and their voting history, and they take quotes. And I'm just going to pull a random quote here from February 16th. Andrew Cuomo says New York state subsidies private colleges, quote, probably more than any other state except maybe one. And it's simple, easy. It's real easy to read.
Now, does it tell you if that quote is true or false?
Yeah, absolutely. And then right next to it is a meter, and it says true.
Oh, okay.
And so it's like a truthometer or something like that. Yeah, truthometer.
Donald Trump got a mostly true?
Yeah, the stock market has hit record numbers, as you know, and there has been a tremendous surge of optimism in the business world. Mostly true.
Well, I can see how that's true.
Well, and then it tells you why. And it says, like the Andrew Cuomo one about the private colleges, it says, but New York also has more students than other states. And then the Donald Trump one about the stock market, it says other factors also play a role in stock market performance. So,
whereas he was saying, it's all me. Me.
And this one is learnprogress.org. It says Donald Trump was caught investing in the Dakota Pipeline before signing it, and that is false.
But
Trump sold shares in Pipeline's parent last year before all the
no DAPL stuff happened.
Right.
But isn't learnprogress.org a very, very left kind of institution?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the other thing that people need to do is like learnprogress.org's file, and then you can look it up, and it's all false. But it's only one. So, but my computer is being super slow right now, even though I got it back finally.
Is this the same site we used when we vetted that one lady who was saying the alpha female is ruining the...
PolitiFact? It may be. I looked it up,
man.
and then I had to vet the site. But I have a habit of doing that now. So another one was a blogger said that Hillary Clinton filed for divorce in New York courts on February 20th to 17. And it says pants on fire, and it's like fire coming out of it. Yeah. So I just think, and of course, right now topical would be look at what's happening. Well, look at what's happening last night in Sweden. Sweden, who would believe this? Sweden, they took in large numbers. They're having problems like they've never thought possible. That's a quote from Donald Trump.
Trump's probably his tweet,
and it's false, completely fucking false. And which, like, Chef, my buddy Chef, he was tagged in a meme today, and it's like, Sweden stood with us for Bowling Green. Now it's time for us to stand with Sweden, and because the fake Bowling Green massacre comment that he made.
Oh, okay.
And so it's just, this is actually a really good site. So I recommend it. Today, 27 million people are enslaved, and by Bob Corker, and it's mostly true. It's in the right range.
By who?
Bob Corker.
Who is that?
No idea. This guy right here. So, but anyway, so yeah, that's I think the message that Hastings was trying to get across is that the American people in politics, they really need to do their freaking homework, but they're too goddamn lazy. Excuse me, but they're too lazy to do it.
Or they're just completely uninterested in the political game, unless someone swoops in and makes a giant spectacle out of it.
Which
is what Loki did.
That's what
Trump did.
And, not saying good or bad or one way or the other, but it happened, period. No one thought he had a chance in hell in winning, and everybody underestimated
that asshole from the... Fuck, what was his show?
The Apprentice?
Yeah, like the asshole from The Apprentice? No way.
Yeah.
And then a guy with zero political...
businessman?
Zero political background.
Dwight D. Eisenhower.
What?
Dwight D. Eisenhower had
He
zero...
didn't have any?
Oh. None, zero.
But was he a good one?
Well, he was a military man, so...
Well, Trump wasn't even in the military.
He was decent. He wasn't a great president. Eisenhower wasn't, when it's all said and done. I mean, he's responsible for the finishing of, like, interstate highways and stuff like that, but nothing super big.
Oh, well, so. I mean, it's better than I bombed Hiroshima.
And we're in Missouri. You better watch out what you say, man.
I know. But, I mean, doesn't that all kind of like fall into another thing that bugs you? The narrative.
Historical narrative is invaluable. And I'm having this discussion right now with one of my professors about Hitler and the historical narrative of Hitler.
Okay, we're in America, so be careful.
No. No, I'm not endorsing this monster by any stretch of the imagination. But the thing is that after World War I, the stuff that he did to get the German people back on their feet and back, proud to be a German and things like that were invaluable to the German people at the time.
After getting crushed in World War I.
And the country chopped to bits. And
because of the Treaty of Versailles.
Right. And ultimately what Hitler thought was, a raw deal. And a lot of German people thought it was a raw deal. Even Hindenburg, who was the chancellor before he died. And then, of course, Hitler combined...
Rose to power,
combined the two offices. But everybody thought it was a raw deal. And it was. Whenever you look at it from a German perspective. But the Germans didn't win either one of those wars. So the history books that we read, view the Germans as wrong in both cases.
Yeah.
But what Hitler did where the Holocaust is concerned is absolutely terrifyingly horrendous, and never would I ever wish that upon any of my darkest enemies. But between that and then ripping Europe apart in a quest for power, I posed a question today. Hitler was put into that position because he was an amazing speaker.
He was enigmatic.
And we're way off topic. But yeah, and I mean that goes to the same with presidential candidates as well. But he rose to power, and
I mean it's kind of what Trump did.
Yeah,
We're going to build a wall. Who's going to pay for it? Mexico.
And then you got all the hard right wingers. He's Republican, so they're going to vote for him. We're going to build a wall. Well, my job was taken by, an immigrant that had come in.
What job?
No, not my job. I'm saying like people.
No, I'm just saying in general. Like, what job was taken from you specifically?
Right, and that's the question that no one asks. And what job did the company move to Mexico? Did they actually fire you and hire someone from Mexico that was illegal? Can you prove they were illegal? That's the things that people don't ask, and they don't want to ask. They read the headlines, my job was taken by a Mexican, and they're like, oh shit, we better build that damn wall. Woo! And I put something on my personal Facebook page last week, was a continuation of the Super Bowl ad from 86 Lumber, where it was the young girl and her mother walking across Mexico trying to get to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And 86 Lumber, at the end of that, there was a giant wall, and the mother was just devastated. And then she sees a little crack. And the 86 Lumber people had made this ad to where that they had built a door in the wall, and it says, "You are always welcome." And I'm just like, oh, that's amazing.
I'm going to go ahead and say that this is a lumber company?
Yeah.
And they had an ad in the Super Bowl?
Yeah. That you had to continue online and finish the ad online.
Oh.
Because, and this proves my point,
of the narrative?
also, no, of people not wanting to finish, educating themselves.
Yeah.
Because everybody's
headline sniping.
Yeah, they're headline sniping. So they got the 30-second shit and they refused to type in an HTTP address to watch the rest of it. Otherwise, we would have seen extreme right-wing outrage on that.
And we can't have that, especially if the Patriots were the ones who won.
Yeah, well. Hey, when you're the GOAT, man. I mean, I'm no fan of Tom Brady or the greatest of all time. GOAT.
Oh. Gotcha.
Anyway, moving on. That's the narrative that Hastings was trying to give with Loki. So, and I can talk fast about this shit all day because this is my bread and butter.
It is. Who else? Etrigan.
Etrigan ran for president. This will be quick.
He ran for president, and people, he was getting up there, and the only thing that stopped him from actually being president was turning back into Jason Blood.
All right, end of story.
Right.
Yeah.
Fire-breathing demon. A-okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, that sounds good. Let's
Old
have him
British
in the office.
guy. Nope.
That's ironic, isn't it?
A little bit.
Oh, man, that's crazy. I would be remiss in my fanhood if I didn't address the fact that Slade Wilson was president during Crisis on Two Earths, on the planet that Crime Syndicate is from.
Yes.
And he was actually allies with Justice League during that.
Kind of,
but he was
basically telling them to fuck off because they're going to make everything worse.
Yeah.
He said we have a stable-ish relationship with the Crime Syndicate.
Yeah.
And you're going to ruin it. And then of course, Superman's doing the Superman thing and saying, we have to help everyone. And he's like, okay, well, who's going to help us when you leave?
Don't you just want to shake the shit out of Superman? Just be like, shut the fuck up.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that's what Bruce is doing in his head mentally half the time. Is just...
with kryptonite gloves.
Yeah, just shaking him. Shut up!
Shut up, you son of a bitch. We can't be that
good
all the time.
He flat out told them in Crisis on Infinite Earths, he basically just told them, he's like, I'm not doing this. Like, what do you mean? We have a duty to help these people. He goes, he's like, that's not even our world. We have to secure ours first.
Right.
So he stayed behind until then Superwoman showed up and beat the shit out of him and stole the quantum trigger. Yeah, good movie. I mean, it was a graphic novel first, but they made it into an animated movie, which kicked so much ass.
Yeah, it's one of the best, in my opinion.
Oh, it's my favorite.
Yeah. Top 3 for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely agree with that.
Another one from DC is Prez.
That's
we're going to save the real presidents for last.
Gotcha. Well, Prez is like its own thing, or it's like its actual, like that's the title, is
right.
Prez. But that's also the name. Well, in the first continuation of Prez, that was their actual name.
That was his name. as a teenage boy.
Yeah, and it's like a teenager becoming the president of the United States.
In all 4 issues in 1973, because it only lasted